And frankly, the first couple of years of our marriage, my level of struggle with same-sex attraction actually was negligible, which was a complete shock to me. I figured getting married and the stress of that and maybe the threat of that or whatever would have increased my same-sex attraction, but it was actually the opposite.
We have a little bit of a unique story in that we both have dealt with same-sex attraction. There are a lot of couples out there where one person has dealt with same-sex attraction, the other one has not. And so I would imagine for the one that hasn't, their family would be really concerned about them marrying somebody who has struggled with homosexuality. For us, we really didn't. I didn't have that. My parents met Melissa. They loved Melissa, and my sister and brothers. I mean, there wasn't anyone. None of my friends or family. They were just all excited and really knew that God was. I was in a church community that knew me well. I was very transparent. They knew about my past brokenness and the journey that I was on, and we were all. At one point, I felt like God was opening the door for marriage, and so many of them knew that. They were praying about that. They were excited about that.
I grew up in a religious family, and so when I really started struggling with same-sex attraction, I was concerned about my family finding out what they would say. And honestly, at that point, my identical twin sister had become a born-again believer. And I pretty much figured that she doesn't have a lot of tact, love her to death, love her, we're very close now. But it wouldn't have been out of character for her to tell me I was going to hell. And so I was kind of braced for that response. And that was not at all how her and my mother responded. In fact, what they said, which was so helpful, was, we love you. We don't agree. We don't believe this is God's best for you, but we love you. And then my sister handed me a list of scripture verses, that speak about against homosexuality, which I didn't read at the time. And that was what I needed to hear at that point. I feel like if they had been overly harsh, that would have really driven me away. Instead, it was only probably 2 years later that I gave my life to Christ through an event that my sister invited me to. So there was really an open door there to maintain that relationship with them.
I was really tormented inwardly for a long time as a older child, as a young adult, and it was about 16 or 17 years. I was about 16 or 17 years old when I was talking with my mom one day, and my dad. We were outside actually, and we were doing something, my mom and I together, and then my dad was a ways away doing something else. And I finally just told my mom, just sort of blurted out, I think I'm gay. And I remember my mom, with tears in her eyes, just looking at me and saying, I was afraid you were gonna tell me that one of these days. My dad overheard the conversation, which was remarkable because he didn't hear much of anything otherwise, but he overheard the conversation, and he just, we just didn't talk about it. And that was kind of how our family functioned or didn't function. Is difficult things would come up, and either there was something kind of explosive or it was just ignored, and so it was not something we talked about. And really, my other family members, they found out a little bit over time after I went